Hi, welcome back to the tank game tutorial. This should be part 10. We're going to be looking at some Booleans in here. What I've gone ahead and done is created a bunch of little sprites here for a health pickup, chain gun pickup, I'm not sure if we'll use that one, an ammo box pickup, and an oil pickup, and this is going to make us move faster. So we oil the engine, moves a lot better, and we're going to use the Boolean for this one here. What I've gone ahead and done is created these objects down here as well. So object health pickup, object chain pickup, object oil pickup, and object ammo box pickup. Now for each of these, I have only actually put code on one of them at the moment. I'm going to show you that one. So this is the object health pickup. What I've done is in the create event, I've set an alarm to 300. So when this object health pickup gets created, it's going to have an alarm that gets set to 300, which is about 5 seconds. Then when the alarm goes off, it's going to destroy itself. That way it's not going to stay on the level for too long, and it'll disappear after a while. 5 seconds might be too long. We may have to come up with some trialing and see what's a suitable time for that. But at the moment, 5 seconds is good enough for testing. So down here, under object chain pickup, what I've done is I haven't written any code on here. Instead, I've set its parent to be the health pickup. And what that will do is it will behave, for all the events on parent, it will behave exactly the same way. Same with object oil pickup, its parent is the health pickup. And same with ammo box, its parent is the health pickup. So what's going to happen when any of these appear, it is going to act as though it was the health pickup for these purposes. So when it gets created, it sets the alarm. So each of these is going to have that code on it. And I don't need to rewrite it and be inefficient in that. I can just use the single parent pickup. Now, in the tank player, this is where I've created the code that goes with it. Now, I haven't created the code for the oil pickup yet, which we're going to look at in a moment. So what I have done though, and I just need to check, I think I turned this off before, ignore that. Object health pickup, what I want to do here is destroy the instance. I want to destroy the other one in there. So I'm just going to use the code block for that. It's under main one, the little recycle bin, and that's going to destroy the other instance in here. Then I'm going to increase the health. So what I'm doing here is I have set the player health to increase by 20, and then I'm clamping the player health to between 0 and 100. So it will not go greater than 100. So if I'm at 90, I get a health pickup. It doesn't go 110 and my health bar starts going off the screen. It's going to stay at 100. The ammo box pickup is the same. I destroy the other object in the instance and I increase my ammo. I'm going to increase ammo by 10 and I'm going to clamp it to between 0 and 99. So this clamp function is really useful. Don't underestimate it. It's a great function for making sure that you keep a number within a certain range. Really good for limiting user error, making sure that boundary cases are met and that you're not breaking those or going over or below a certain number or above a certain number. And so really good for putting in here for testing. Now, what I'm going to do is create a Boolean variable. GameMaker doesn't have any kind of special declarations like C# or other languages where you have to declare what type of variable it is. These variables can change. There is a proper term for that, and I'll cover that with year 12 stuff and year 13 as well. So we're not going to worry too much about that at the moment. But in here, I have in my create event, in the code here, initializing the variables, I've made a Boolean variable for oil power up, and it's called player underscore oil underscore active, and I've assigned it the value of false. A Boolean variable can only have one of two states or two values, true or false. In GameMaker, you can also give it a 1 or 0, but it just represents true or false. In fact, I think true or false in GameMaker represent the numbers 1 and 0. 1 is true, 0 is false. So in here, I have assigned it the value of false. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add an event, and this event is going to be a collision with the oil pickup. And when this happens, I am going to do two things. I'm going to set an alarm, and this is going to last for 3 seconds, so that's going to be 180. I can set it in alarm 0 because every object has its own set of alarms. Okay, this is not a global variable. It's not, it's not sharing it with the other thing that we've got the alarm on. So I'm going to set that alarm to 80, and then I'm going to set in code player oil active equals true. And I'll put a comment there. Set oil power up to true. Okay, so that's going to put that in there. Now I do need to add an event. What happens when the alarm goes off? And you've probably guessed it if you've kind of been following along here. I'm going to set the player oil active equal to false. So it goes back to false again. Disable oil power up. Okay, so when the alarm goes off, I disable the oil power up. Now, one last thing, I'm going to use an if statement down in here in my press up to check to see whether that value is true or not. So if player oil active equals true. Now you can just write this, if player oil active, because that variable is going to be equal to true or false. And it's just like typing if true. Well, that's always true, so it will always do it, and that's always false, so it will never do it. But it gets a bit confusing unless you're familiar with programming languages in general, so I'm going to write it the long way, which is fine as well. So if player oil active equals true, well, I'm going to do this stuff in here. Speed equals move speed times 2. So we're going to multiply it by 2. And I'm going to put an else statement. Now the else is what will happen if this condition is not true. So what's going to happen here is it's going to compare this to this. If this is true, it does this. If it's not true, well then it's going to do this stuff down here. So we're just going to move it normal. So let's test that by we'll put in 3 power-ups. So we'll go to our room and we'll grab an object, an oil pickup. Ooh, I'm going to have to probably try this game a few times. And object chain pickup, because I don't want the chain pickup. MO box pickup. I'll delete that one. So I'm going to test this. I'll have to test it a few times because they're going to be deleted from the room after 3 or 4 seconds. I'll just test to make sure that they get deleted. So they're gone. And I'll just... Okay, so game restarts. Pick up my ammo. I got 10 ammo, and they're gone. I should put a shortcut key in to make this restart quicker. Okay, I pick up my ammo, get the oil. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, it did work. Okay, I'm not sure why it didn't actually work to start with. And then I've got really fast speed for who knows how long. Pretty much forever. So I'm not sure why we've got the super speed at the moment and it's not resetting. Oh, there it is. It's back to normal now. Okay, so we used a Boolean variable there to change a value if it was true, if it wasn't true. Lastly, we want to make these tanks drop power-ups fairly randomly, but we're going to go into the tank and in the destroy event, and we're just going to add in a little bit of code down here. So this is going to be fairly simple. Drop a random power-up with a small chance. Okay, so we're going to use choose here. If choose, actually we won't use choose. We'll use random underscore range, and we're going to put in a range from 0 to 10. So if the number that it picks here is less than 2, then we're going to do the code in here. Okay, so what we're going to do here, what random range does, it doesn't return a whole number. It will return a floating point variable. So we'll just check if it's less than 2, and that way any numbers 0.111, 0.123, etc. They are all less than 2. So we've got that chance. And then in here, we are going to make it instantiate an object. Instance create. And the instance that we're going to create it at the X and Y position of this tank. But the instance we're going to create is going to be choose. We're going to choose one of these 3 things here. So it's going to choose one of them for us and put it into this slot here. If you remember, instance create needs an X position to create, a Y position to create, and an object. But we're going to get the function to determine which object. So we're going to put in all 3 objects. Object, and it should not be called object enemy. It should be called object health pickup, object ammo box pickup, and lastly object oil pickup. And then I need a second bracket. These brackets need to match. Same up here. Had too many brackets there. So keep in mind, I've got an open bracket here. I need a closed bracket here. I've actually got 2 open brackets. That's why I've got the 2 closed brackets at the end. So it's going to create one of those instances. Now we'll have to play this a bit to see whether it does actually work. And that did give me my health back, so that's working. There's a health pickup there, so that's working. There's another health pickup. Unfortunately, it went over the bar, so we're going to need to have a look at why it might have gone over that, and why it's also not. Oh, there we go, there's an ammo box, so that is working. And we'll make sure that it does the other ones as well. I haven't seen the oil one come out yet, unless I spelt it wrong. There it is. Okay, so that is all working. The power-ups come out at a pretty good drop rate. I can always increase the drop rate. I just change this to a larger number. If I say less than 10, then every single tank is going to drop one. Less than 5, roughly 50% chance of dropping one, and it will randomly pick these here. One other thing, you may have noticed that every time I start the game, the same tanks come in from the same position. Always that tank up the top there. So if I restart it again, always that same tank. And if I just wait a few seconds, you'll see that the game will start, and I'm pretty sure that tank will come in straight up at the top again. Oh, it's in a slightly different position, but it is always the same. So what we're going to do is go into this object tank player, create event, and right at the top here, or maybe right down the bottom, it won't matter, get a random seed, and we're going to use a function called randomize. Okay, this is going to determine a random seed based on the computer's clock time or clock speed or current clock cycle, and use that as the seed for generating the randomness in our game. If you're familiar with Minecraft, you know what a seed is, and it's just a number that it's going to use to generate other randomness from. So we can get that all happening, and this should be working pretty much fine now. There is one error which I might fix up in the next video to do with the object oil pickup and how that's actually working. So I'll fix that up in the next video.